And we're live. Hello, everybody. We might all have a little bit of whiplash from having to transition from the conversation that we were just having pre-stream into this. Some of us are on a lot of cold medicine right now, so strap in, boys and girls! It's time for another night of Double Requisite here on Proficiency Bonus. Let's play some D&D. Before we begin, let's thank our sponsors, Little Dragon Corp and Cardboard Castle. You can get a link to either of those websites by typing !Little Dragon or !CCG. Got it. Nailed it. Got it in one. Only been reading that ad for 2 years. You can get a link to either of those websites by typing those into your chat. This is how I'm going to sound for the rest of the night, and I apologize, everybody. This is what happens. Cardboard Castle Games is a brick-and-mortar tabletop gaming store located here in the United States in Evans, Georgia. If you are not local to Evans, Georgia, fear not, where they have a robust online site where you can peruse and order all sorts of tabletop RPG goodies to your heart's content and have them sent directly to your place of residence. Little Dragon Corp is a Canadian-based dice company, makers of such dice as the ones that everybody on this stream is about to show you, including my invisible green screen dice that don't show up on stream. Hey!
Oh, sweet, where's my
I have more, I just keep forgetting to bring them up.
Dice.
I have even more.
So thank you to both of those sponsors. If you, before I forget this, if you decide to purchase anything from Little Dragon Corp, you can use our code PROBONUS at checkout for 10% off of your order. Thank you, Little Dragon Corp. Thank you, Cardboard Castle Games. Last time, we're gonna recap. We're gonna recap because last time we had a Pirates episode. I had a family medical emergency that required me to turn off the stream 10 minutes in, and that was the end of that session. So from 2 times ago, the party is currently split, with Nimue, Sela, and Rowan being back on the island nation of Naporia, along with a handful of the folks that they have picked up along their travels, awaiting a response from the Ordinum Librae, an organization of academics and scholars and arcanists that span the continent of Orahol. While they await the reply that will hopefully allow them to traverse a vast amount of the continent to visit the city-state of Terra Libra, where the Ordinum Librae resides. Oh, camera not available. To deliver a message of an impending Ignian Imperial plot of some sort, as well as hopefully get the journals of one deceased arcanist, the Scene, deciphered, hopefully giving them clues to an ongoing plot against Naporian lunar warriors, a group of very specialized sort of mercenaries or warriors for hire that come from party member Nimue's homeland. The other portion of the group, Thyxus and Murderbeard, along with their ship, the Grimm's Folly, and the remainder of its crew, are currently upon the Isle of Glassau, where they have come to deliver word to the free captains of the pirate collective that has called Glassau its home base of operations for several decades. Deliver them warning of an Ignian Armada being assembled in the city of Umyath-Dorai, as well as to drop off a very beleaguered forger that they picked up in said Umyath-Dorai, conduct some other business, and then return back to Naporia, hopefully to catch a teleportation spell to Terra Libra. When we left both parties, Sela and Nimue were in their separate meditations after a sort of a whale-watching experience that the 3 women shared. And Rowan had been invited to tag along with the Naporian swordmaster Hachiro, and his apprentice, Nimwe's younger brother, Zen. Rowan had hiked up part of the cliffside of one of Naporia's various terraced waterfall-laden plateaus, where she is currently involved in some sort of a ritual which seems to pay honor or summon or something a very special glowing almost flame crested spirit blue heron, an island spirit that apparently the bladesmith Hachiro is familiar with. However, a group of fire imp-like creatures have also appeared and seem to be threatening this heron spirit. And we left off last week as Rowan was about to engage them in combat to defend this spirit on Swordsmith Hachiro's orders. Back on Naporia, we left Murderbeard and Thyxis sprinting down to the docks with the other pirate captains, as word had just reached them that a single ship with one passenger had rowed up to the docks and arrived at Naporia, and it contained a lone sailor who had been identified as a member of Captain Charles Frederick's crew, a member of the Joule, and they were about to see what this person had to say. So when we left off last time, or where we false started last time, we started with Rowan. So that is where we will start as well again tonight. Rowan. We rolled initiative, and we had about a round of combat. I'm going to just sort of rewind us, because that was all a bit of a blur, and then I ran out of here and we had to cancel the stream. And I don't have anything written down from last time, so we'll start that over. Go ahead and roll me initiative, and I will do so for Zen and Hachiro as well.
Every time I check to see if I have an initiative bonus, and I never remember that I don't have any. I got a 17.
Okay. 17. Rowan. And I need one more initiative. Oh boy, okay. Things playing out a little different this time than they did the first time around, as our initiative order is a little bit different. So, let me take a quick second to make a little bit of a switch here. So, the first to react as we kick things off here is actually going to be the spirit heron this time. Previously, I believe it had been second or third in the initiative. It's first this time. But what it's going to do is nothing. It's going to hold an action. And it just sort of kind of like hunkers low into the water a little bit. It sort of draws its long neck a little bit inward, protrudes out its wings to either side, kind of like ruffling up its feathers and making itself look bigger. And Victoria somehow has a literal physical picture of like a glowing blue spirit heron.
A whale. Ignore me. Ignore me.
It looked like a bird. It looked like a bird from my screen. Welcome to this episode of Delve Requisite, where we learn that the Dungeon Master does not know the difference between birds and whales. Fun fact. That is what the heron does. The next in the order is going to be Hachiro. He is going to stride forward alongside you, Rowan, and he moves sort of a semicircle around the creature, putting himself between it and one of the advancing flaming imp-like creatures. He sort of like flips his walking stick up and takes it in front of him, and he is also going to hold an action, waiting for one of these creatures to get in range. That is going to bring us to you. So you will remember you are standing on what was sort of the edge of a pond, but is now sort of just a flat, featureless expanse of perfectly smooth, mirror-like water that really doesn't seem to have any depth or dimension that you can see, and stretches in all directions as far as you can see. Up above you, the sky and the topography of Naporia have vanished to this sort of swirling nebula of vaguely wispy kind of swirls of colors that roll across a similarly endless expanse of sky around you. In the center of this little cluster of beings here is the spirit heron Hachiro, now placing himself sort of to your right, about like a quarter turn around the circle around this creature in the middle. Zen is on the far side of it from where you stand now, and these 4 imps are coming sort of like from the 4 cardinal directions, moving inwards towards the center.
I will copy Hachiro and go, keeping on the same side I am as him, and get between the imp on that side and the heron, and I will hold my action to attack should it come closer.
Okay. That is going to bring us to the imps. So the imps, all 4 of them are going to rush inward. We will resolve Hachiro and Rowan, the 2 of you on either side of this thing. These creatures come like flapping in, sort of like squealing and giggling. The sound effects are not happening tonight. My vocal cords will not make it happen. So just imagine impish cackling and giggling. Use your... Yeah, there you go. Thank you. You are going to have to make me a dexterity saving throw, Rowan.
That is good. 21 total.
Okay. Hachiro is going to do the same thing. He rolls an 18. So both of you are fine. These two creatures come like dizzily flapping in. They don't seem to be they're not particularly like smooth in the air, as their wings just sort of like flap them hither and yon as they move forward. But they come forward and they inhale, and they're like, you see like their chests and their rib cage expand like almost bullfrog like, comically large beyond what you would presume to be the confines of like their form. And you can see this yellow orange glowing illumination from inside them as they inflate and then exhale, and a cone of flame roils out from their mouths, spreading in your guys' direction. But with a successful dexterity save on both of your parts, you will only take half damage, avoiding the worst of the flame and only kind of being singed by the heat. So that's three fire damage halved. So you will take a whopping 1 fire damage apiece.
Okie dokie.
On the other side, you see one of the imps goes not for the spirit heron, but heads towards Zen, and rakes at him with a set of like 3-fingered long claws made of sort of semi-solid, almost like magma. They lash at him, but he quickly like pulls a sword from his hip, which he puts into a defensive position and bats aside these claws as this creature swings at him, using its momentum to kind of whirl it around him, and he comes to stand. It is now this creature sort of between him and the heron, but he is faced off with it with his sword drawn. The final imp is going to rush towards the heron. take a swing at it and miss as the heron sort of like flaps and kicks its feet and like splashes a bunch of this water up in the direction of this creature. The water droplets hitting it instantly like fizzle and vaporize, and steam rises off of the creature. That is going to bring us to the heron, which is going to it's actually going to attack one of these. It's going to attack the imp that attacked it, and it thrusts forward with its beak and quickly sort of like jabs into the into the chest of this creature, which gives out a kind of a high pitched like as it's skewered. The heron is going to deal 1 point of damage to the imp, and it is still looking to be intact. That is its turn, and that will bring us to Hachiro, who brings his walking cane around, and he is going to basically just try to swing it downward onto the creature's head, but it flutters up and out of his range, kind of giving him a taunting cackle as it does so. Rowan, that's going to bring us back to you.
Swinging at it.
All right, we'll hit.
17 to hit.
17. A 17 will definitely hit. Go ahead and roll some damage.
Okay. 9 points of damage.
9 points of damage. Okay.
And I get 2 attacks now, so I'm swinging again.
Ooh, yes you do.
Is that one still standing?
Yes it is.
Okay. 19 total.
19 also hits.
That's 8 more points of damage.
Okay. You swing Shikai into this creature. You slash, drawing the blade across this thing's body. You sort of like rend its semi-solid form open, and a bunch of like it almost looks like if you've ever seen videos of them like pouring molten metal, that sort of like globular sparking spurts out of it, and it bares its molten fang-like teeth at you before you just bring the blade upward and cut up, slicing it, and it shudders and gives a high-pitched sort of like almost the sound of steam being released. And it's actually going to explode. I need you, Rowan, to make a dexterity saving throw as molten pieces of this creature's form rocket outward in all directions.
15 total.
15 is going to be enough to take half damage, which will be another 1.
Okay. I can live with that. This is fine.
So you basically just throw yourself flat, and the most of this misses you. One of the creatures is destroyed.
Eat poop.
Alrighty. Seeing this, the one that is sort of currently had been like trading blows with the spirit heron kind of turns and sees its one of its compatriots fall to your blade, and gives this sort of like and flutters in your direction. It is going to make... Oh, go ahead.
Real quick, I do want to make sure I'm within 5 feet of the heron, right?
Yes.
Okay, just double checking.
Okay, it's going to make an attack against you. Let me roll this. No, okay. It is going to make a claw attack against you. 14 to hit, I don't think is going to do it. Alright, so it rakes its claw at you, but you deflect the blow expertly. That will bring us to the one still fighting Hachiro. That one is going to land a hit on the old swordsmith and deal 4 points of damage to him. As it rakes a claw against him, it slips in under the defense of his walking stick and slashes across his sort of shoulder and pectoral muscle a little bit. He kind of staggers back, like, ah! But he is still on his feet. The final one takes another swing at Zen, who deflects that blow as well. Zen will trade blows with it and score a hit on his combatant. And he will deal 5 points of damage. He deflects a blow from the creature, brings his sword around, and slashes it like across its directly across its face. But you kind of see the vaguely amorphous form kind of reforms around the cut, as he has not inflicted a fatal blow at this point. It is still active in the fight. The heron is going to take its turn to do nothing, as it's not currently being engaged by anybody. And that'll bring us to Hachiro, who will take a swing and land a blow on his combatant, dealing 2 points of bludgeoning damage. He just sort of conks the little flaming imp creature with his staff, and he says, "Step back." And the creature responds by going in his direction. Rowan, that's going to bring us to you.
I'm swinging twice at the one who came for me.
Alrighty, go ahead and roll to hit 2 times.
That's only a 13 to hit?
13 will hit.
Oh, okay. Did not think that was wrong. That's only 5 points of damage.
Okay.
And then, again, that's 12 to hit.
12 hits.
Okay. 6 points of damage.
So 11 total.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. So you slash into that one 2 times. You kind of cleave off one of its little spindly arms, and it sort of falls into the water with a loud but one-armed, it still continues to kind of flit about, snarling at you and trailing like a spurting globule of magma out of its shoulder stump. That is going to bring us to the imps, who will make attacks against each of the 3 of you. Where's my d20? Oh, it's right here. Okay. 21 against Rowan.
Yeah.
18 against Zen, and a 13 against Hachiro. So let me double check Hachiro's stats, because that's pretty close, actually. No, so that's not going to hit him. Okay. So you and Zen are both going to take 5 points of slashing damage and 1 point of fire damage as these creatures lash at you. And there is no remaining one, so that is their turn. Zen is going to make an attack against his. That will hit. He deals an additional 5 points of damage to the one that he's fighting, slashing into it with his slender bladed sword. The herring will continue to do nothing. Hachiro takes another swing, bonks his attacker for 6 points of damage. And that brings us back to Rowan.
Swinging again.
Alrighty.
Dirty 20 to hit.
Yes, that hits.
It's only 3 points of damage, though.
That's okay. That's enough.
Time for another deck save.
Yes, you kind of swing Chikai around. You slash into this thing, dealing the fatal blow to it, and it kind of like impacts in on itself, and then bursts outward in a shower of fiery sparks.
I rolled a 17 total.
That is more than enough. So you'll take half damage. You're going to take 6 fire damage this time.
That's half. Ooh, dang.
That is half. He rolled quite well on his exploding fire damage.
Good for you, buddy. You hurt me more by dying than you did by living. Okay.
Alrighty. That is those 2 down. Okay, you still have your movement and another attack, if you would like. You have one fighting Zen kind of to your right, and one fighting Hachiro, like behind you. With the heron is between you and the 2 of them grappling.
Wondering if Hachiro will get offended if I try to help him, I'm going to go to Zen. And
Okay.
stab at the one that's been bugging him.
Okay. Go for it.
It's a 13 to hit. That hits, right?
Yes, that hits.
Okay. 5 points of damage to that one.
All right, you run up and you just thrust your longsword clean through this thing, and like while impaled on the blade, it goes like scrabbles at the blade, and then just
Again.
explodes.
Great.
Yes, another deck save. Zen will make one as well. Zen.
He gets +2 on his save, by the way.
Ooh, that's good because he would have failed otherwise.
Okay. Anyone who's within 10 feet of me gets +2.
Very good. Okay, so he will save.
I got an 18 on mine because the +2 keeps saving me.
You also save, so both of you will take 4 points of fire damage.
Okay, good. Okay.
Oh, goodness. Alrighty. So the third of the 4 of these creatures explodes in a fireball. And the fourth one kind of is whirl around. You see it where it's been trading blows with Hachiro. It sees the tide of the battle has clearly kind of like turned. It looks towards the faintly glowing blue heron, and it gives this like shakes its fist like a cartoon bank robber or like a cartoon oil baron that's been foiled, and it flitters and tries to flee.
Does Hachiro let it go?
He does not do anything.
If he doesn't swing at it as it's leaving, I'm not gonna lunge for it yet.
Okay. Zen is on his turn going to attempt to he pulls like a throwing knife from within like his belt, and he flings a knife at it, and he hits, dealing 3 points of damage. So he connects with it. It goes like but it continues to like flutter off, and when it gets to be like 30 or 40 feet from you guys, the kind of like darkness enveloping this strange extraplanar space that you seem to be in kind of just like engulfs it, and it disappears, and everything grows quiet once more.
I look at the 2 of them, not sure what to do. And then I look at the heron. The heron didn't get hurt, right, as far as I...
No, not that you saw.
Okay. Are you guys okay?
Hachiro kind of like rolls the shoulder that you saw got whacked by the creature, and you can see a little bit of like charring around the edges of the cloth where it was cut, and a little bit of the, like, you see the skin underneath. There's a little bit of blood, a little bit of, like, blackened. It doesn't look too bad. He just kind of, like, rolls his shoulders, and he says, I am too old to keep doing this. It is why I bring you with me. You should be faster than this, Zen. You are not laying around all day. And Zen is like,
I put my hand to, like, my, like, head and neck where I got singed the most, and I just do a little bit of lay on hands to myself just to bump myself back up a little bit.
okay.
And then I look at the both of them, like, kind of like with my hands just like, like, do you need help, or are you okay, kind of thing.
Hachiro sort of shakes his says, no,
I figured he would. I was like, I'm not
fine."
gonna force the heels.
And Zen kind of like, he's got kind of like a sour look on his face. He sort of turns to you. He's like, you could have at least told me that we were coming up here to fight a bunch of fire monsters. I would have been more prepared.
I just kind of laugh and go, I think maybe we should have guessed there was something more than him just wanting to make us climb a mountain. But
Yes, of course I should have guessed. I spent all of my day making oatmeal for him and hammering swords. But no, let's hike up into the mountains and fight fire monsters. Why didn't I think of this?
fair.
Goes over.
Just kind of, I clap him on the shoulder and just kind of like, you know.
He like shakes his head, and quickly the two of you are like startled as the like switch quick like walking stick sort of like donks, not very hard, just sort of like donks onto his shoulder in your hand to kind of get your attention. And as the two of you are are drawn to this, Hachiro standing between you, kind of like he sort of like jabs the stick, directing your attention back towards the bird, which you see is looking at the trio of you, kind of warily, a little bit, seems a little bit uncertain. Zen kind of like, he says like, okay, what are we supposed to do now? And Hachiro sort of shakes his head. He says, watch and learn. When I am gone, this will fall to you. And he steps forward, and he draws, from his, sort of like his sash belt. He brings forward a little pouch, and he undoes a drawstring, and he reaches in and pulls out in his hand just a simple like kind of grain seed, it's like bird food, and he walks right up to the blue heron spirit, and he sort of casts this stuff towards its feet, where it like strikes into this featureless glassy black water and kind of just like sinks beneath the surface, and the bird kind of like looks at him, and he looks at the bird, and after a few moments, it kind of like ruffles up its feathers and leaps into the air and takes flight. And as it does, that sort of like ruffling of feathers, it like flings off this vaguely glowing, it almost looks like soot, kind of like ripples off of its feathers. And as it lifts into the air, the shimmering, interwoven, almost scale-like mesh that you had seen like laced into the feathers before, they seem to like ignite and illuminate with this white-blue fire, and it spreads down this creature's wings and across its body until it rises up into this black, featureless void, shedding this, like, rain of, like, cinders behind it. And it flies up and away from you, just as the imp did, eventually being, like, swallowed by the darkness around this place. And as it disappears, the black, featureless void around you kind of, like, begins to recede and fade, and the starry night sky kind of, like, appears back into existence around you. The band of Egeria's ring reappears in the sky. You see the moon. You look, you see the topography of Naporia. You're once again standing in that pool. The torches that Hachiro had Zen place around the surface are there. They have been extinguished. And what is all around you now, at first it almost seems to be snowing, except you realize there's no temperature to this, like, fluffy, translucent kind of stuff that's, like, floating down, and you realize it's like ash, and it floats down and begins to settle on the surface of this small pond, turning the clear water a kind of a solid matte finish gray color as it settles and lays atop the surface of the water. And Hachiro says, "That creature is an Asajibi. It is one of the spirits of Naporia that have walked and lived alongside our ancestors since our people came to this island long, long ago. It is and will always be fearful of people. It is its nature. But if you can, even briefly, convince it that you mean it no harm, it may bestow upon you a gift." He gestures at the ash-like substance falling into the water. He says, "My student, I will show you how we will collect this. It is used in quenching the blades that we forge for Luna Warriors. It is a material that can be gathered in no other place and in no other way than this." He points to Shikai, still in your hand, Rowan. He says, "Your blade bears the magic of this substance, as do all blades that I craft. Zen goes in. I am old, and I will not be here forever. When I am gone, this duty will fall to you." And Zen is just sort of watching this ash fall, and kind of like lays on his hair and his shoulders and his garments. And for the first time this evening, he doesn't have anything, like, snappy to say. And Hachiro turns to you now, Rowan, and he says, "I thank you for accompanying us this far. I had the feeling that perhaps there was something of benefit for you in this journey. But for now, I must ask you to part. The gathering of this reagent is knowledge that isn't for you?
I just sheath Shikai and bow. And I turn and I try to find my way back.
It's not super difficult. Naporia is
Yeah.
not massive, and it's, you know, it's terraced in such a way that, like, from any given kind of like plateau cliff face, you can kind of see down to the village below. So it's not difficult. You're able to kind of make your way, and you leave the two of them as you see Hachiro go back to the massive pack of stuff that they brought up with him and begin to extract things that are apparently for the gathering of this sooty, gritty reagent that is given to him by this one of the spirits of this island in the to use in the forging of his weaponry. And as Rowan begins to make her way back down the topography towards the main part of the village, the main village in Naporia, we will shift perspectives. Let's go to Glassau and go to Murderbeard and Thyxus at this point. We join you guys as the two of you, along with Captain Thorne, Gareth Blackwell, Hooper, Sea Dog Barton, Captain Dash Through Rain, our Una is with you guys as well as like several other just like inhabitants of Glassau. You guys are like running towards this commotion on the docks. You'll remember that Captain Ridley is not with you guys. She kind of stormed out of the Pirates Concord when it was kind of decided, like, we're not going to go try and fight in Armada, just the six of us. But the rest of you are kind of running together down the dock towards where you were told that this lone sailor has arrived. What do you do?
This lone sailor arrived in what again?
Like a single sort of longboat.
Okay.
So it does have, you can kind of see it as you guys rush down. It's been like hauled in and moored to the dock. It does have like a single short mast with a single sail, so it's, you know, it is a like quote unquote powered vessel. It's not like a rowboat. You know, so you know it has a little bit of a longer range than just like, you know, a dude who rode it from wherever. But it has been kind of lashed to the, you know, to the dock, moored down, and you see there's kind of like a huddle of people around the end of this dock, all sort of like crowded around, trying to like see and hear what's going on.
Yes, Thyxus would probably just try to like squeeze through the crowd a bit to see if he can get a look at this individual.
Sure. Make a perception check.
Okay, sure. That's a 12.
A 12. With a 12, you can see that the main gaggle of this crowd of maybe 20, 30 people or so are kind of clustered in this loose semicircle around the edge of this dock. They're being kind of like kept at bay by a single individual who is kind of like, you know, keeping people from like crowding in, and you can see a couple of other figures standing behind this individual who's sort of keeping the main press of the crowd back, and they seem to be standing around somebody who it looks like is kind of like seated on like a crate.
Do they appear injured?
Not that you could see. You can't really see them very well because
Okay.
they're kind of blocked behind these people are sort of standing around and over this person, looking down at them. As far as you can tell from what you can see, they seem to be like sitting under their own power. You know, like they don't appear to be like unconscious or being held up or anything like that.
I guess Thyxus would probably cautiously approach.
Okay.
maybe hand out water skin towards the individual that's sitting on the crate. And just be like, Sailor, are you okay?
You sort of like push your way through the crowd. You kind of get to the front. You don't know the gentleman who's sort of doing crowd control. You don't know his name. You don't know him by name, but you kind of like seen him around. He recognizes you. He knows like you are a member of the Grimm's Follies like officer corps. So he kind of like steps aside to let you pass. You can hear a little ways back from you. Murderbeard, I don't know where you are in this, but like you kind of hear the other captains sort of as they're as they're approaching. You hear Thorn kind of just lets out this like, "Make way, Blackwell's with us. We'll see the sorry bastard." So you kind of hear them like you hear them sort of like moving their where you kind of like worked your way through the crowd as like Thorn and the others kind of come up behind you. Thorn's not doing that. He's just like get out of the way. People start to part for him.
Hearing them behind me, I would probably just take a quick glance behind after I ask the question and sort of just step to the side. Still kind of maybe expecting an answer, but also knowing that they definitely outrank me. So whenever they come by, I will gladly move away.
This individual does take your offered water skin. As you get around the group of guys who are like kind of standing over him, they too kind of get out of your way a little bit. You see that the individual is a human male. He appears to be probably in his mid-30s. He has kind of sandy shoulder-length hair. It is unkempt, very greasy. It looks like he probably has not bathed in at least several days. He's extra, like, very, you can see even in the, like, the torch light of the dock in this evening time setting that you're in, you can see that his face is very, like, ruddy red. He's clearly been, like, getting beat on by the sun for a period of time. He's had some, like, exposure. He's got several days worth of growth on his face. And his clothes are kind of, like, tattered up. You see that there's like black powder stains on them. They've been like ripped in a few places. There's some like mud, a little bit of blood that doesn't appear to be his. It looks like he was in some kind of an altercation or a fight of some sort a while back. And he gratefully like takes the water skin from you, and he says, "Merci, my friend. Thank you." And he drinks the water skin. He says, "Tell me, is the governor nearby? I have a message for him and the other captains."
Oh yeah, they're right behind me. They shouldn't be long.
He nods. He says, "Thank you." He says, "What is your name, friend? For your generosity."
It's Thyxus, of the Grimm's Folly. What happened?
He says, horrible fate has befallen my captain and our ship, and I fear that a similar fate may soon come for us all. It is important that I deliver a message to the other captains, and to the governor.
Sure. I'll immediately like start looking for Murderbeard.
Murderbeard, you can theoretically like be wherever you want to be.
Yeah, I'm pretty much like right with the other captains.
I'm taller than him, so I kind of look over him for a little while.
Captain! Captain! I'm standing right here.
Oh, sorry. So now he's got a lot of important things to say. I think we need to get everybody over here.
And I assume the other captains are like right.
Yeah, they're all kind of here.
And we will, wait for this man to tell his tale.
if Murderbeard isn't doing anything, then like he says as the other captains approach, he kind of looks to Blackwell and he says, Governor Blackwell, I have dire news that I must tell you immediately. It is of the most importance. And Blackwell kind of he nods and he says, he looks to like kind of the assembled crowd and he looks Macbeth to you and to Captain Thorne. He says, if you would not mind, gentlemen, could you, and he sort of gestures towards the crowd. As if like, can you disperse them?
Oh. I thought he was like, all these people are here. I was like, yeah, they are.
No, he turns, he like looks at the crowd and he looks at the two of you and he goes, gentlemen, if you wouldn't mind. And he sort of like makes a gesture like, can you...
Murderbeard will turn around and go, all right, get out of here. There's nothing to look at.
At the exact same moment that Thorne is like, get out of here, nothing to see. And everybody on the there's like, you guys yell this out, and there's like...
I cast thaumaturgy on myself, and I say, yes, the captain!
There's like a dead pause. Everybody's like... And then Thorne just goes like, well, go on then. And everybody's like, whoa! So,
oh, pirate stuff. I think we're done with
each other, and they leave. So they all sort of like rumble, and everybody kind of backs off and clears away, leaving the sort of the collected pirate captains, a few like other individuals that you gather to be like high enough in importance that like they're allowed to be privy to this. Una is still here, for example, and Blackwell says, he says, you are no doubt a member of Captain Frederick's crew. I know your face, but I am afraid I don't know your name. Who are you, sailor? And he says, I am Lingan Estes. He says, I was a deckhand on the Jules. I must tell you my tale, and it is of the utmost importance. Time may be growing short even as we speak. And Blackwell says, very well, Mr. Estes, please, go on. And Estes says...
Matt, before you begin saying this,
yeah,
I would like to say that Thixus is suspicious about the accent.
Okay.
And will continue to be insightful during this conversation.
Sure. Okay.
All right.
He says, several days ago, this is Captain Frederick was, we were sailing to the north of here. Actually, here, I'll pull up the, let me pull up a map for you guys. He says several days prior to this, he says Captain Frederick was sailing with the Jules. We were to the southeast of Barbara. He says Captain was following a news he had heard of a trade convoy sent from somewhere to the south, headed for around the Cape of the Empire territory towards the north. It was supposed to have valuable goods on it that he intended to make his own, but we were befallen. It says the Imperials. It says they have ships in the waters. They catch us unaware. Sailed around the northern Cape of Vama, and got the Jules unaware. It says Captain Frederick turned the ship around and attempted to flee, but they pursue us. He shakes his head. He says, it was a merry chase we gave them, and we would have gotten away, but the wind turned against us. The captain was forced to... he runs the ship aground on an island to the south of Vama. there we made our way inland and prepared to hold off the ships. He says, an Ignian captain, one of their vessels that pursued us there. He came ashore and he had a parley with the captain. This was the message that he had to deliver. Or rather, he attempted to strike a deal with Captain Frederick, yes. He told Captain Frederick that the insult we pay to them when he gestures towards Thixus and Murderbeard. He says the crew took the ship, took their prize, the Grimm's Folly, and they, along with Captain Thorn and his Shrike, sunk all of their ships. They intend to repay the pirates in kind for this. He offered Captain Frederick a deal. He was to escort the other Ignian ship to Glassau under the guise of having captured them and lead them into safe harbor here where they could ambush and overrun the island without a fight. This in exchange for his life he offered the captain. And Captain Thorn kind of like scoffs and he says, well, if I know Frederick, I can tell you exactly what he said to that offer. And Estes, he says, normally I would agree with you, mon capitaine, but Captain Frederick, he is attempt to outsmart them. He asks them if he can have time to think of this, and they tell him they will give him 2 days while they wait for more of their ships to arrive. And when they come, if they have his answer, they will either take him with them alive, or they will kill everyone and take their corpses, lash to the front of their ships, and sail on Glassau anyway. He says he bought himself the few days to attempt to send a messenger. He gestures towards himself. He said, one longboat from the Jules survive. Under the cover of night, several of us snuck it to the beach, and I was sent alone to try to deliver a message here to Glassau to warn you. He kind of shakes his head. He says, I do not know if there is still time to sail to the north and rescue Captain Frederick, but if we do not, they are coming for Glassau one way or the other.
Does he seem to be legit?
Both you and Thixus can make insight checks. You guys said Thixus was being insightful.
That's great insight.
2? Okay.
With a -1,
He's
is
legit.
A 16.
16. You see that Blackwell and the other captains, seem to be like familiar with this guy. You heard Blackwell address him as, a known member of Captain Frederick's crew. So they seem to, be accepting what he is saying. And you don't detect any kind of evasiveness in anything that he's telling you. So everything seems to be on the up and up.
I immediately whisper to Captain, I don't trust him.
You tried to be pretty stealthy because we're like right next to that guy.
I would be trying to be whispering to you.
Murderbeard will lean over to Thixus and go, what makes you say that?
Oh no. It's like one of those... What were we talking about before? Those auras? Was that what it was? Vibes? Was that it? almost get a bad one. Why are you looking at me like that?
I'm trying to remember to when we had a conversation about vibes.
Thorn,
It's been a long time.
Thorn, who is listening to this conversation as well as you guys talk, he kind of turns. He says, "Master Estes, first mate Thixus seems to feel you've failed the vibe check, the most sacred of all pirate traditions. What proof do you bring that your story is true, and not a fabrication, in itself designed to lead us into ruin?"
I quickly lean over to Thixus and go like, I hope you're right. If not, you're going to have to settle this with trial by combat.
Hey, did you know that a vibe check was that important this whole time? And you never told me?
Birdbeard like points to like, oh, there's like a sign that says pirate rules, and it's like number 1, everybody must pass the vibe check.
Yeah.
It's like,
How did
it's
I
on the
miss
sign,
this?
Thixus.
I skipped the number 2 every single time.
Estes,
Like this is very embarrassed.
another one of the pirates who's listening nearby kind of puts his hand on your shoulder. He says, "Oh, it's okay, me hearty. I often fail the vibe check myself. I didn't read the rules either, mostly on accounting of the fact that I can't read."
And that's why we don't talk to you, Carl. Anyway, to the point it matter.
I told you how many times. It's... Never mind. Stumps away. He says, I've got my leg blown off for a cannon. I can't even get him to call me Peg Leg Carl to say...
If you had a peg leg, we'd call you Peg Leg.
He goes, "Look at my peg leg right here," and then he takes off a fake peg leg that he was like definitely just kneeling on with his like regular foot and puts it on the ground. He's like, "Fine, just wanted a fit in."
Anyway,
This is totally
invasion.
inappropriate to the story elements that are happening right now. And he runs off. And thus ends the saga of Peg Leg Carl. Estes, meanwhile, reaches into his tunic, his shirt, and he draws out a signet ring. It is a platinum ring with a green stone set into it, that some of you perhaps might remember in a... sort of in a, maybe your character will remember this sense, as it's not something I don't think I actively described, but the other pirate captains seem to recognize it. It is a ring that belongs to Captain Frederick. He says, "The captain, he gave me this to bring to you." He says, "I know that it is not much to go on, but it is what he had to give. The predicament is dire. There was no such time for anything more convincing."
I will take the ring, and I, using my magical for the first time ever dwarf abilities, will use stun cunning to make sure this is a legit.
Okay.
Carl finds 5 gold.
Yeah, Peg Leg Carl.
Carl.
5 gold.
Coral.
Coral!
Carl, that kills people.
Alrighty.
I have it's a check, right? I haven't done stone cunning in 1,000 years.
You have it, I believe with your stone cunning, I think you get like an advantage on a history check or something like that.
Okay.
To like examine a piece of stone.
My history is not great. Okay, that's 1. Okay, so that ends up being a -1 is a 19. I mean 18. Sorry, I rolled the 19.
You can tell from just like eyeballing this gem. You put your eye up real close to it, you hold it up to the light, you observe it. It is a legitimate emerald. The stone is real. The metalwork that it is in, you can tell it is an Ignian crafted ring, which fits. You know that Captain Frederick is originally from within the Empire. The ring is not a forgery of any kind.
Would I have theoretically seen it enough time, him wearing it enough times to be like?
Yeah, I think like the other captains, you recognize it as a ring that he wears.
Yeah,
and you believe this to be a legitimate legitimate ring.
Maybe it does the thing where he's like, it's legit. Trust me, I'm a dwarf. I know these things.
That seems racially problematic, but the situation calls that we just pass over that and take your word for it. So, if Mr. Estes is to believe, Captain Frederick is penned down on a godforsaken spit of land somewhere north of here, with a bunch of Ignians floating outside the shore waiting to either kill him or accept his surrender. And nigh on short after that, a group of them will be sailing here to put us all into an early grave. What do we do about that, lads?
Murderbeard will turn to the governor and say, how ready is that big secret plan of yours?
Blackwell kind of scrapes the stubble on his chin. He says, to see my dream of a haven for free men and women unmoored from any landmass will take perhaps a lifetime of work. To gather what supplies we can carry and flee the island, we would need perhaps 5 days.
Okay. I'll turn to the. I forget his name.
Estes, Lingen Estes.
Say, how far? Did he say how far they were away?
He sailed for.
Has he said that already?
What's that?
Has he said that already?
He sailed. He can tell you he sailed in his little vessel, for 2 days.
Okay.
To get from where he was to here.
Not a full ship's 5-day sail.
No.
I will turn to the governor. Well, we don't have 5 days.
So you guys basically know based on that time frame that if they held true to their ultimatum, whatever they're gonna do to Frederick, is probably going to be resolved before you guys can sail back there.
I hate to say it, Captain, but I think Frederick is on his own.
Yeah. I have to agree with you unless anybody else has got a brilliant idea. Would I know any, powerful-ish magic users on the island?
No, I mean,
No,
the magic users on your crew are pretty much the most, the most powerful spellcasters among this cadre of pirates. Yeah, so you think of this, and Thixis is like, I think Thyxis is definitely the most powerful spellcaster that you are aware of on the island of Glassau at the moment.
Wow, that's not saying much for this island.
Captain Thorn does say,
I don't want him to shrink the island. Oh, what if we shrink the island?
It's a great idea, Captain.
Thorn says, well, Frederick's fate may very well be sealed before we can get there, though. I've known the man long enough to know that I wouldn't put anything past him. He's a wily one. In either event, I think our course of action is the same. He kind of looks to you and to, like, the other, like, captains here. He says, Governor Blackwell needs 5 days to evacuate the island of critical personnel and materials. Well, I certainly think buying 5 days is something we can do.
You gonna elaborate on that?
Oh, we sail north and we fuck up some Ignians and keep them from coming down to Glassau while Gareth Blackwell takes all of his people and pisses
Oh,
off.
okay, that's what I thought you meant. I was just making sure.
Yeah, I was doing a cool thing where it seemed self-explanatory, but now that I had to lay it out, it kind of takes the gravitas out of the moment.
Well, sorry.
So...
It's like, guess I failed the vibe check on that one.
Rule number 1! Come on, man!
You hear Carl laughing faintly in the distance.
Sweet vindication! Pegleg Coral! Away!
Then he flies off. everybody's like, oh! Pegleg Carl was the Tom Bombadil of Glassau.
Oh, Blackwell says, well then, if none be opposed, prepare yourselves and we'll sail at first light.
Captain, I'm just trying to gesture towards Murderbeard. We don't quite have a full vessel, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. We have, because we have, the crew, the generic crewman number 2 guy's crew.
You don't
but not
have
the
your
real
officers.
You don't got the girly girl
We don't
gang.
have the main characters.
That's right. We don't have the cast.
Too lazy to play myself is going to guest star as Coral. Special one shot later.
It's just us verbally abusing them the whole time.
They have just constantly rolling vibe checks, but the DC is set at 40, and it's impossible to win.
And it takes us 5 days to sail to Naporia, right? It's a week, or the better part of a week to sail there, right?
Oh, that was to me, huh? Yeah.
I thought that's how.
I certainly don't know.
Yeah, so yes, generally. Depending on when you can make the trip faster. You're sort of looking at, if you kind of look at the map up on the screen here, you're sort of looking at an island somewhere in that kind of loose chain of islands there, to the east of Naporia. It was probably where this guy is talking about having come from.
The rings that Nimwe's rings. What's
Yes.
the technical, how many messages can we send
3 a day.
3. 3 a day per ring or per
3 a day, like
set?
for the set.
For the set.
But like a message back and forth is 1.
So it's 6
Okay.
messages total.
So yeah, so
That's
you
what
can call and respond 3 times a day.
Okay. Murderbeard's going to use the ring then. Hold on, I have to text somebody. Hold on. And he's gonna message Nimue and ask, "Hey, random question. How fast are Naporian ships?"
Out of character, do I know? I should know.
Ship speed. I mean, yeah. I mean, like they're not exceptionally faster than anybody else's ships. They're ship speed.
Because my
For
question
the average speed, why do you ask? What's happening? What did you do?
Because what I'm trying to figure out here, is it possible that like they could
Meet us.
take a Naporian boat and meet us there? Is that
Make a
Good thinking, Captain.
man. We need to make up a new skill check to roll for this. Like we need to roll for like
boat stuff?
boat stuff. Yeah.
Sorry, roll for like
making-
nautical.
Water vehicle proficiency?
No, it's definitely called boat stuff.
Nautical knowledge.
We'll
Nautical
figure out.
knowledge.
Well, I like nautical knowledge.
I like nautical knowledge.
Okay, make
Right.
me a make me a nautical knowledge roll. So that'll be a D20 plus your what stat does survival use? Wisdom, right?
Wisdom.
Roll me a D20 plus your wisdom modifier, and I think Murderbeard automatically gets to be proficient in it, so you can add your proficiency bonus.
Okay.
Floaty things. These are all very good names for our invented skill check.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's a natural 20,
Nice.
but my wisdom modifier is a -1.
That's okay. Natural 20,
Plus-
I will accept.
So
And yes,
What's
internet
the proficiency?
pedantics. I know that natural 20 doesn't count for skill checks, but screw you! I'm the DM. No, you're fine. That's more.
that
than
was
enough.
before adding my proficiency bonus. So.
You are pretty sure, based on like you kind of like quickly run some like nautical charts in your mind, and you have like facts and figures sort of like swirl around your head, and you are pretty sure that if the others set out from Naporia at like an intercepting angle, as you get like if they sail like east-ish as you guys sail north, you guys can intercept each other's path to link up as you head north for these towards these Ignians.
Okay. So I will message Nimue back and say, we need to kill Ignians. Meet us at coordinates to follow. And I'll use the last slot for like when we look at a map and figure out like coordinates
Okay.
to send her.
Cool. So Nimue, we'll use this as a good opportunity to.
Oh, I would add ASAP at the end of that,
Right.
just so she knows not like no, don't just scroll here in a couple of days.
Don't get around to it. Like, do it right now, please.
Hey, if you
We'll
have
use this as
time.
an opportunity to smash cut over to Naporia, where I think this is kind of taking place as Rowan. You're probably on your way back down from the hills at this point. Nimue and Sela, we've kind of had you guys in a generic sort of off in your meditations. Where would you guys be? It is evening time. The sun is fully down. It's probably 10 o'clock, 10:30 at night.
I don't know if we're together. I wouldn't be opposed to us being together, but I feel like ever since that experience with the spirit, like the big spirit of the island, and getting like these visions and stuff, I feel like, and now knowing that it's probably Aiden that's got mutinized, I think she's really trying to focus on the spirit and try to figure out what she's supposed to do with her life.
Okay.
Because maybe it's connected, because it feels like everything's so coincidental, but she's like, maybe it's not.
Okay.
So I feel like she's trying to either meditate on that spiritual temple island, or like at the center of the spiritual place, or if Sela wants to do more of her cool whale song stuff, like she feels like that could also help her concentrate. So she's fine either way, but I feel like that's probably what she's mostly concentrating on, as well as during the day, like that's at night. During the day she's been checking in on the twins, but like all night she's doing this meditation, soul searching, literally and figuratively.
Gorgeous, gorgeous girls go sing the ancient songs with the whales.
Yes.
I just saw that Too Lazy to Play myself suggested floaty things, and now I can't stop laughing about that for the name.
Oh, I read floaty things and wrote it down. I didn't realize it was floaty thinks.
I think, Scylla's probably spending a lot of time out on, like, the little island where the spirit was, and will water walk herself and Nimue out there if Nimue wants to go, and, like, is spending time meditating, but is also, like, probably just doing a lot of, like, druidcraft and hanging out with the plants that are there and talking to them and just making it look really nice, because stuff was, like, very disturbed before, and, like, just making it look better than before, and probably also being very, like, annoying, like, with some, I told you so energy to Nimue, about with her getting her life together, and anytime Nimue, if she, like, slacks off at all, it's just like, get your shit together.
Yeah, it's probably happened a couple times.
Okay. So you guys are doing this out on the island. The shrine has been stubbornly silent on giving you helpful information since its exposition dump a few months back. But you know, you're kind of doing some soul searching, and I think instead, before we interrupt your broadcast with Murderbird's message, I think instead of me narrating to you, I think I'm gonna let both of you guys tell me what fruits have these labors borne either of your characters. You've been spending this time sort of searching within and meditating and thinking, and you can either just, you know, tell me. You can make a roll for yourself if you want, but you tell me what conclusions have your characters come to? What have you learned? How have you grown in this time we've been doing this?
I think for Nimue, I don't know if this happens, I can make a roll for it, but what she's really trying to do ever since, like, getting her spirit agitated with that medicine that he injected me with, like, she's really trying to find a tangible way to, like, feel that spirit as it is and not just, like, blended as her. So she's trying to, like, find a tangible feeling with this connection that she's been pretty much ignoring all of her life. She's like, yeah, it's there, it gives me cool things, but she hasn't really taken the time to get to know it because she doesn't know herself.
Okay.
I have something that kind of ties into that I think would, like, help. Because I think, after the, like, whale encounter, Scylla, like, kind of had a moment of realizing that, like, she'd been, like, she had said that she was going to, like, that she was trying to help everybody, but it was very self-centered, and she's definitely still very, like, has that feeling, but is trying to, like, get, like, a little bit of, like, an ego death going on here, of being, like, my problems are, like, beyond what I think of them, and, like, other people, like, need to be at peace first. Like, kind of trying to make it, like, less selfish, and, probably, like, is in that, like, trying to talk to Nimue about, like, or encouraging her to, like, listen and see if like, because she doesn't know what's going on necessarily in Nimue. It's like very alien, but like maybe trying to get her to like focus on her sense of like hearing and also like touch, but not touch, like the feeling of like vibration that like sound makes, and trying to get her to like listen, because like hearing is like a sense that like she feels like it could be something below what you can consciously perceive, but like now she's starting to like feel more strongly that like different spirits have like different energies that like vibrate on different frequencies that manifest as different songs of like creation or just like whatever they represent. So she's trying to like, is kind of like soundboarding off of Nimue with it, but it's also trying to get Nimue to see if she can hear it, because like Scylla thinks maybe it will help with what Nimue is trying to do, because she's obviously been going through it.
Cool. Okay.
Sorry, that was a lot.
No, that's awesome.
I love it.
Okay, so I think then this the results of this meditation then to kind of package what you guys set up in a tangible thing that you can take forward. Nimue, you have spent your whole life kind of aware that you had this other entity that existed within you, but always keeping it at a metaphorical arm's length, keeping it beside yourself. And you have always struggled to keep your emotions in check, feeling that you've lacked control over your good moods and your bad moods, and your outbursts of frenetic energy and your lulls of melancholy. These things have always seemed to wash over you and control you, as opposed to you sort of controlling them. And with Scylla's help during this time, you begin to become more in tune that this passenger that you carry inside you is, in a lot more ways than you ever realized, really is a part of you, as opposed to something that is hitchhiking a ride, as you kind of always looked at it. And as Scylla kind of tries to tune you into, feeling the resonances of the spiritual energies around and inside you, you start to come to this realization that the fluctuations of your moods that sometimes can feel very detached from your conscious mind to you, they start to become a little more clear as this other part of you that exists beneath your conscious mind, trying to tell you things. And you're not sure, you don't come to a profound eureka moment where you understand, all of these things, but you begin to grasp this concept that when you feel these rushes of emotions and things that seem to be outside of your control, if you take the time to step back and listen and examine, you begin to feel an understanding that perhaps this is how this other part of you communicates. And you think that maybe you can learn to understand it, given enough time. And Scylla, I think in doing this, going through these exercises with Nimue, I think what you find is that in the time you spend kind of reflecting on the whale song and the experience that you had with this pod of whales, you find yourself reflecting on family and the importance of kind of a heritage and a lineage that extends backwards and forwards throughout time. And it is something that you have very much turned your back on from your own people for a long time now. And for reasons that you still feel very strongly are viable, but you, I think, begin to realize perhaps that in forging these new connections with Nimue, with your other crewmates, your other friends, you are starting to find the value again in reforging those bonds, and as you said, kind of ego checking yourself and stepping away from this and finding the value in raising up the community around you for the sake of making the pod as a whole stronger, as opposed to just doing these things for yourself. And I think in that you find it actually brings you, you feel a sense of harmony in a way that I think maybe you haven't for a long time. A way that perhaps you realize you've been kind of wandering around exploring these islands and strange reaches of nature looking for something, and you kind of catch just the glimpse of it at the corner of your eye and begin to see that there's maybe something in this this found family thing that you've begun to explore. So I think for that, I think I'm going to give both of you guys a point of DM's inspiration that you can put on your character sheets. And this is more of a kind of a accumulation of the the days that you have been spending doing this, as opposed to a big light bulb moment. So you guys are you're just kind of in your groove. You're vibing on this island, doing your thing. A night like several others that you have spent here, when Murderbeard's message, Nimue, comes through and kind of pulls you out of your reverie.
Yeah, I feel like the first message comes through, and if the girls were like just vibing, like Nimue immediately, like, her back straightens in a much the similar like kata stances, and she's just like, oh no, and you see her for like a few seconds going back and forth, and then she turns to you and she's like, so the boys are up to shit again, and they want to go kill Ignians like ASAP, and we have to meet them at these coordinates. And I, sure.
The first part doesn't surprise me, but the second part excites me.
I guess what this means, we have to cut tonight early and go find Rowan. And go talk to my father about borrowing another ship.
Let me, I have Animal Messenger, so I'm gonna cast it, and I'm gonna get one of these frickin' seagulls that doesn't listen to me unless I compel it magically, and I'm gonna be like, get down here, you idiot, and then I'm gonna take it, and I'm gonna say, you go to the red-haired lady with the braid and the armor, and this is in Victoria's voice, and tell her, what do I have to, the message is, Rowan, come to the docks right now. The lads are creating mischief, and we have to go deal with it. And kill. See you soon.
How do we resolve the effectiveness of the efficacy of Animal Messenger before? I feel like I had you make a roll, right?
No, that one time that I had to roll with the seagull was me just like begging it to help us.
Okay.
And instead, just because we were like out of magic, we were like gonna get blown up, and I was like, please, just do one helpful thing. And the seagull was like, this is like a spell that it actually goes and does it.
Okay. So these sort of like thrum of your sort of like aquamarine colored magic sort of like flares in its eyes, and it takes to wing and flies off towards the island. And Rowan, as you are kind of reaching the sort of the foot of the hills leading back on the path that heads down into the village, a slightly rumpled seagull, a seagull that just, if you were to guess, you would assume like is fine, but maybe got manhandled by a furbolg a little bit. Sort of like alights on a nearby fence post, and just clamps open its beak, and the message verbatim in Sila's voice, like an audio recording, plays out of its beak.
I just stare at it for a moment because I was not prepared for that after coming off the mountaintop. I just go, oh no. And I kind of like just take a moment and go, oh, and I just start walking towards the docks, but I'm thinking the whole time about how this is going to mess up the trip to Terra Libra, and Rowan's just starting to get anxious about a million other things, so she's literally having like a mini crisis as she just blindly walks to the docks to wait for the girls to get back. Small crisis.
So after a few moments, maybe we'll call it 15-20 minutes pass. You guys can, sort of reconvene at the docks.
I relay all the information to Rowan that I got from Murderbeard, which isn't much, but that's all I got.
Okay. You just see on Rowan's face, she's like, I knew I should have gone on the trip with them, but they wanted to have a boys' trip, and I didn't want to be a party pooper, and now I stabbed some imps, and she's starting to have her own little breakdown at the thing, and then she just goes quiet.
Just put my hand on your shoulder and say, Rowan. Calm down.
Yeah, there's... I have a bad feeling that this is gonna mess up the trip to Terra Libra, and I feel like there's something worse happening, and I can't sleep.
Well, we have time to quickly let her know what's going on, and if we're delayed, we're delayed. She's gonna have to wait for us if she wants our information and the books that the boys have.
I guess. Rowan just follows the line and follows.
The Armada and Murderbeard's talking about more of them, like, it's probably not good. We probably do have to go help.
Yeah, you're right. I just don't know. And as Rowan stops and looks at Nimue and goes, is there anyone else on this island that can send a message really far? Not using a bird that Scylla chokes into submission?
I grabbed its foot, I didn't choke it. He's fine.
Do I know of anyone on the island that has, like, abilities?
Not in, like, the arcane arts in that way, no.
Okay. No, that's not really our thing here.
Okay, we'll just have to...
What were you thinking?
There's somebody I think I need to warn about what's going on, but maybe Aora can help with that. Or maybe we'll deal with it when we get there. I don't know. If we can't do it, we can't do it.
Alright, well, let's go find her, let her know what's going on. I have to find my father and try to secure another sequel.
Well, that won't get us there fast enough, would it? I think we need something
a better one, like a faster one than the one we had. Because we have to meet them at that coordinates by this day.
They're just gonna paint fire stripes on the
It makes it go faster.
on the sequel.
Yeah.
Faster.
So yeah, I'm gonna start going back and finding people to help.
Okay.
Ron, do you want to go to Aora and let her know what's going on while I go to your ship?
Yeah, if you go talk to your dad, and I'll meet you at the school.
Just meet me at the docks.
Okay. I will run to wherever I know Aora's been hanging out, and...
Oh, wait, who should I support? Who needs my help? I'm gonna go with Rowan. I already spent time with Nimue.
Yeah, you go.
Okay. Alright, so Rowan and Sela, you guys head to the these sort of quarters that have been set up for some of your various passengers aboard the ship who elected to stay here in Naporia during the boys' trip, including Aurora Veshta, who is among them. You find her just kind of like sitting out on the front kind of porch area of this building as you guys approach. She has a kind of a sheaf of rolled parchment in her lap that she's kind of casually looking through. It's in what you recognize to be like the Naporian sort of script, and she just was kind of like hanging out on this porch, people watching as people like the few people who are still kind of out and about this evening go about their business. And as the two of you approach, she sort of like rolls up her scroll again, and she says, "Good evening to you both." She says, "Oh my, you are looking like you have had a fright this evening, Lady Rowan."
I think it's just an anxiety attack. It's fine.
Oh,
we have a problem.
This is not fine. This is a serious thing that should not be dismissed. This is true. You should come sit. Put your.
Rowan doesn't move, and she just looks at Aor and goes, "I need to know if you can do some really cool magic I've heard of but never been able to do, or find anybody that can do it."
I know a very few little ritual spells, simple thing that anyone can do with enough practice. But what is it that you are needing?
Can you send a message really far if I tell you who to send it to?
She says only with the messenger sparrow. This is how I have to send to the Ordinem. Yes, you remember?
I just figured maybe you retired that day. That's not fast enough, I don't think, but maybe that's what we'll have to do.
She says, "What is it that you need? I can hear you, even though I will be off camera for a second." Hang on.
I have to tell somebody about the Armada because I'm starting to think that this is bigger than just the Armada. And as we were talking about, maybe they were attacking, or others of your order. I'm worried about others throughout the whole of Igeria, and I think we need to warn another group.
She says we can. She says the Napoleons have messenger sparrows on the island. We can send them to wherever you need, or we can when the Ordinem sends their reply, or hopefully their team to retrieve me. They have plenty of means to spread information across great distances quickly.
About that, we're gonna need a couple extra days probably before we're ready to go. The guys are kind of in trouble, and we have to go help them. And you can't leave without us.
She like, mon Dieu, they are having a boys' trip and they get in trouble. I will do what I can. Yes, you understand. I am not. I will say I am not in charge. I only am at the mercy of the higher ups of the Ordinem. But how long do you need? You think?
I look at Scylla because Rowan barely heard any of the timing details.
I forgot too, so Scylla says the time.
She says some days.
The days.
Make a persuasion roll, you guys, or one of you can make it with advantage, however you want to do it.
Well, I have pretty
good persuasion.
Here's the thing, though. I already had an inspiration, so if I spend this one, I can keep the second one. But if
Sure.
I don't have 2 little things to check off.
Sure.
So I'm gonna roll separate, and I'm gonna use... No, you know what? You take my... Can I give her my...
Yeah, sure.
I think I still have one from like a while back that I
Oh my
never
God,
used.
use your inspirations.
I was like, something major! This is something major!
Oh no, I rolled a 1 and a 3! And I have a minus! That's a 2!
A 2, okay.
So I don't need my inspiration because I think I don't need my inspiration. I got a 23 total persuasion.
Okay. So you guys
I'm
like
awkwardly stuttering.
plead your case. Rowan like stammers through like pleading the case.
Through
Sela,
all of their at
Sela,
some
I guess
point-
theoretically does something like, let's do it.
At some point, I'll get serious because I'm starting to like come out of the panic state, and I'm starting to get like angry that like she's trying to basically tell us that like, well, I can't really do anything if they come back for me and you're not here. So Rowan starts to get a little annoyed eventually, and it's just like, we dragged you out of a cell. We could have left you that. Like she starts just like getting angry at that point, and it's
like,
basically explains like, you don't get to go without us.
at the end of this, she's like holding up her hands in surrender. She says.
Rowan's just badgering her
She
into
says,
submission.
I will
She's
do
done.
everything that I can. She says, I understand. I do not have this magic. They will teleport here and they will teleport people back, and I will do everything that I can to either get them to wait, or I will tell them to send someone else along to come back. She says, I believe at least I have this much sway that I will convince them, if not to wait, to take me and others back, then to provide you with other means to reach Terra Libra. This at least as much I can do. I think. She says it is not because I am ungrateful for your help. It is truly because I have no control over the situation. I am vastly outranked by the people that will be coming to get me. But I will put in the word. I will tell them of what it is you have done, and I am certain that they will send someone or other means for you to reach Terra Libra safely whenever it is that you are able to return here from rescuing the boy's ship.
Thank you, Aor. Sorry, I just there's too much going on right now, and I'm concerned about Terra Libra and your people, but I'm concerned about my friends, and there's too much going on.
She nods. She says, I understand. It is an unprecedented set of events that has happened. I am worried for all of the people of the Five Kingdoms. This act of aggression that the Empire has undertaken is, I fear it is to have effects throughout the kingdoms. But I will give you my word that I will do everything to make sure that you will not be stuck here. You will have your way to Terra Libra. Terra Libra. This is my native accent. Why would I have trouble speaking with it?
Okay.
She just kind of nods. She says, I will do what I can. You still have several days before they are to arrive with a response or with so to pick us up.
I just nod and look at Scylla, because she's just seen me go through like this of emotions. It's like she hasn't seen me for like a couple days, like a day or so, and she's just like, oh god.
Who knows? We kill very fast usually. Maybe we make it back in time.
That's true. And like Rowan kind of perks up at that, like, oh yeah, we do.
Time to be bloodthirsty, Ron. Let's go. Goodbye, lady.
Goodbye, lady.
Goodbye, Scylla. Goodbye, Rowan. Good luck on your I don't know, murder.
Stop
Voyage?
talking to me.
Okay, bye. And she goes back.
At some point, I do want to go find messenger sparrows if I can on Naporia.
Yeah, it's easy enough to do.
I think you know who I want to set them to. So.
Sure. Nimue, you are easily enough able to like run up to the school and pester somebody to go and fetch your father, who comes out to greet you and is definitely was asleep, as it is 10 o'clock, and he for sure goes to bed at like 8:45.
Yeah, that's right.
And is up at like 5:15.
Something stupid like that. Yeah. I will give him the quick Nimue rundown of what's going on in a very like quickened pace, and probably not even giving him time to properly wake up to hear it all, but she doesn't care. And she's like, "So, can you get me a faster ship than the one you got me last time? Please, I love you."
You have made the friends who are rather adept at being very close to extremely difficult situations.
Yeah, the girls got kind of selfish and wanted like a girls' trip while the boys had their trip, but in hindsight, that was probably a bad idea. Too late now!
He, you see, he's like, and he says,
He's probably heard her say that multiple times over her childhood. And he's just like,
He says, it is of the utmost importance that you make the trip to the home of the bookkeepers to glean the information that they have.
I agree.
Under normal circumstances, I would say that gallivanting off in the fastest ship that I can procure to chase after your friends is exactly counterproductive to this point. But as I know that that is not going to stop you from doing it anyway, I might as well assist to give the best chance of it being successful.
I wish you were like this like 10 years ago, because this is so like refreshing that I love you so much right now.
He says, I
Seriously,
am trying
thank
very
you.
hard.
I can see, and I appreciate it. And I thank you. And my friends will thank you. Well, they better freaking grovel when we get back.
He says, I will make the arrangements. Naporia does not build racing ships, but we can provide something.
Just a little bit faster.
Alrighty. So, let us take a quick jaunt back to Glassau. Thixus and Macbeth, the various captains head back to their ships to make preparations for, you know, setting sail at first light to head north, and, you know, make this play to kind of like ward off an incoming group of Ignian ships to give Blackwell time to gather up as much, you know, materials and loot and people and things as would like to get out of Dodge and vacate Glassau. Is there anything that you two need to, need to do on the island, need to do on the Grimm's Folly to like make your preparations to begin this voyage?
We do need to go see the herbalist. We will get murdered.
This is
Good
true.
point. Yes.
Okay. Sure.
To the herbalist as we run.
you absolutely can do that. So you know that herbalist shop is kind of in the middle of the island. You head that way. It takes you 5-10 minutes to head in that direction. Just pulling up my Glassau map here. Okay, and you arrive there. The it's a much like it looked when Sela was there. Is a small sort of cottage. There is a robust garden outside, growing all manner of weird herbs and vegetables and things. There are drying lines with plants like pinned to them out front. The door is closed. The windows are kind of dark within, as it is, kind of the middle of the night. But you approach this little shack, this little hut.
Oh, we probably should have thought about that, Captain. Do they have, like, hours here of operation? I mean, the place looks closed.
You hear the cracking of Scylla's knuckles symbolically in the distance.
Wait a minute, I just had a really weird vibe. It's just this fearful chill just ran down my spine. I think we should just knock on the door.
Go ahead, like, just knock on the door.
I pull out did she put, like, the list on, like, a piece of bark or a piece of wood?
It was like a piece of driftwood.
A piece of driftwood, okay, that's what I thought. I pull this piece of driftwood out. Look down at it. Slowly approach. Sniff the herbs for just a moment. And walk up to the door and...
Okay, you knock on the door. What are both of your passive perceptions?
Oh, gosh.
Not great.
12. Not great. 11.
12 and 11? Okay, well, from the, like, around the left side of the hut, there's, like, an enormous clatter as, like, a shovel falls and hits, like, a tin bucket, and, like, rattles and makes a ruckus. And the elderly Furbolg proprietor of this business comes, like, around the side of the building. As you knock on the front door. So she rolled a nat 1 on her stealth.
She
sort of comes around, she looks and she says, you'll have to excuse me. I thought I'd make an entrance, but it seems that I've knocked over my gardening tools.
It was a pretty good entrance. You got our attention.
She says, I was in the root cellar around the back. I heard you coming up the drive and discussing that you needed something from me. It's not my normal business hours, but when you're my age, you don't sleep much. What is it you need?
Do you remember another Furbolg, Scylla?
She kind of ponders a little bit. She says, yes. She says, she was in here not that long ago. I would remember. I don't get many Furbolg here.
Really intimidating.
Yes, she's the first. She's the only Furbolg that's come into my shop in the last 2 years. I remember her.
She needs these things. I don't really understand too much about what they are, but I was told to just give this to you, and then you would be able to provide them.
That is generally how a shopkeeper works, yes. And she takes the list from you. Scylla, what is this list that you provided them? What ingredients are you looking for?
Stuff for healing potions, whatever goes in that.
Stuff for healing potions. Okay.
Scylla takes a level in Bard.
Eye of newt, tongue of dog, wing of bat.
She kind of like looks through the list a little bit, and she says, yes, I believe I can provide all of this. I may have to substitute 1 or 2 of these ingredients for specific herbs that grow better on this island than in the climes that traditionally the plants grown for these recipes would be used.
As long as they work. I just don't want her to hurt me.
I can't make any promises regarding your physical well-being, but I can provide you with the ingredients on this list. She says, come in, come in. I'll put the pot of tea on while I gather these things. Make yourselves comfortable, but don't put any strange herbs or roots that you pick up off the floors or the counters into your mouths.
I just follow that. Follow what she says.
So you kind of go into the musty shop. She lights an oil lamp, and she begins like kind of working her way around the shop, gathering things, putting them into little like parcels and bundles. Are either of you guys currently displaying the flower decoration that Sela gave you?
I don't
think
think
at least wears his in his hat, right?
I don't think I would hide it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It takes her about 5 minutes to gather up these materials, and she kind of bundles them up in a little like cheesecloth bindle, and then puts that into a wicker box. She seals up and loops some twine around to like tie it closed. She brings it over to the two of you, and she looks you both over, and you see she takes note of those flower sort of bangles that Sela had given you, and she sort of leans real close, like first to you, Murderbeard, then to you, Thixus, gets like abnormally close to your face and kind of like almost like seems to be like studying your eyes. And she looks at the flower bangle that each of you were given, and she says, do you understand what it means that your companion gave you these?
Not particularly. I mean,
It's been a while. She probably said something about it. I'm like nudging Captain, like seeing if he remembers.
they are important to the Firbolg culture, and they were specifically picked for each of us. I don't know if they have another meaning.
I'm pretty sure she did say something. I just have terrible memory, Captain.
She kind of gives you like a sort of like a, Well, if she didn't explain it to you, or she did and you forgot, then I'm not going to tell you. I'll say only that it is significant that she bestowed these upon you. Based on your current demeanors, I would wager a guess that perhaps this gesture was misplaced, as you seem to be a couple of ding-dongs. But perhaps I am wrong. I would suggest that you take it upon yourselves to ask her about these. Just an old woman's advice, and she just like pops the thing into your hand. She says, no charge. Now get out of my house. I want to go to bed.
No charge? Really?
She like kind of reaches forward and like bites the little bangle on your thing, and she says, she is Firbolg. She is of my people. You bear her mark. You are hers. She does not pay for my wares here. And as long as you are acting on her behalf, neither do you. Go now. I will get cranky. Leave. And she starts to like flick at your like ears and your noses and stuff to like shoo you out of the shop.
As like this is being shooed out, he's probably like, just a little hint, just just being forced out as.
She, as you ask for a hint, make a persuasion roll, actually.
Okay. $21.
She gets the two of you to the door. And you're like, come on, just, like, can you, like, a little bit, like, anything, a hint? And she kind of goes...
Just a little one for a ding-dong like me.
She says... You are right. We wear these, and she gestures towards her own, which you will have known, or perhaps remember from last time, is quite long. Sort of like a woven chain of these down her hair. She says, these tell the stories of our lives. Each link in the chain represents significant events. They are important. She says, a hint then for you? A suggestion instead. Speak to her of these. Learn of her people and her culture. The Furbolgs have a rich traditional history. It would behoove you to educate yourself. She holds up like a kind of a crooked finger. She says, my advice, should you be wise enough to take it, ask her not of her own chain. She will tell you of it when she is ready.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Good night. I'm tired.
Could we pay her?
She wouldn't take my money.
All right.
It worked out pretty good. We really need to figure these things out.
I thought you were pointing to your own horns for a second. Sorry, you're talking about the flower. Okay.
Yes, the flower, Captain, the flower.
That was more of like I thought Michael just pointed to his own horns, and I was like, what?
I'm sorry, I've gotten a little slack on my cosplay game.
We can't all just show up, strap on a beard.
Alrighty. Well, I think in that case, we have Sela, Rowan, and Nimue about to procure another ship from the Naporians. We have Thixus and Murderbeard wrapping up their affairs on Glassau, and preparing to set sail with the combined forces of the free captains to intercept an Ignian battle group that is on their way towards Glassau. The potential fate of Captain Charles Frederick of the Joule hangs in the balance. The fate of the Isle of Glassau's inhabitants and Gareth Blackwell on the line as well, if the crew of the Grimm's Folly and the other pirates can hold off the invaders for long enough. And all the while, the incoming envoy from the Ordinum Libri set to take travelers across the continent to the city-state of Terra Libra, where hopefully the answers to this unfolding mystery of the Ignian Empire and the mysterious figures behind the abduction of the Naporian lunar warriors lies in wait. So as we prepare to move on to the next leg of the journey here, I think we will call an end to tonight's session. So join me next time right here on Proficiency Bonus, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we will be continuing the adventure of the other half of our campaign here, the Fool's Errand, who are up to their eyeballs in problems. Real boned. Up to their eyeballs in problems in the Navirian capital, the Mythlindian capital of Naviria, where you guessed it, an Ignian Imperial invasion force is currently storming the city, trying to kill the king. And then 2 weeks from now, the week following that, we'll be back with the pirates to pick up right where we left off this time. So, thank you guys, as always, for joining me at home. Thank you to the
Thank you to
massive
Smitey
donation of
Smite.
subs. Yeah, Smitey
Smite.
Smite donated
Yeah.
a bunch of subs.
For real.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you to everybody who's in the chat. The chat was going nuts tonight. I wasn't really able to keep up with it as I was doing the DM thing, but I saw you guys chatting in there. Thank you to Too Lazy to Play myself for being part of the birth of Coral, the pirate. And we will see you guys next time. Don't miss another episode. Join us every Tuesday. Join us for all other things here on Proficiency Bonus most nights of the week. And as always, we'll see you next Tuesday. Bye, everybody.
Love you. Bye.